Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Roy Kenny.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're taking a look at an interesting game called Dune Imperium Uprising. Now, this is a confusing product, straight up.
Yep,
Direwolf announced this at Gen Con, and we thought, are you announcing a new expansion? Nope, not an expansion. Is this a sequel? Yes, but the expansions for the first Dune Imperium work with this one.
Yep.
So this is it replacing the first one? No, they said.
This is movie 2. The first game is movie 1. This game is movie 2. That's basically it.
Now, if you've never played Dune Imperium before, well, you probably should watch. You should probably go try that one out and play it. It's a great game. It's an amazing game. In this video, we're going to talk about this game. We're going to be reviewing this one on its own merits. Roy's going to do another video comparing the two and telling you the differences, although you will probably catch some of those differences in this review. And there's no way we cannot talk about the comparison. It's not possible.
They're basically the same mechanics of the game, like the core mechanics.
Right, but we're still going to... I don't know how we can review this without talking about the first one. But anyway,
sure.
Here's how it plays. In this game, players are trying to get 10 victory points, or at least when someone gets 10 victory points, that's going to trigger the end of the game. You're going to get victory points by moving up on these alliance tracks over here to the side of the game, by winning conflicts, and by getting other victory points that are possible over the course of the game. Players are going to have, at the beginning of the game, they're going to pick a leader. And so there are various leaders. They come with these numbers up here to show you how difficult these leaders are to use. So you're going to pick one of these leaders who will give you a special ability, and they also give you a special ability that will be played whenever you use a card that has the ring token on it. So players are going to have that. They're also going to have a color, and they're going to have a starting deck of cards. So these cards, diplomacy, signet ring, and so on. You'll have this card, you're going to shuffle them, and you're going to draw some cards. Each round of the game is going to reveal a conflict card down here, a little conflict deck being made. This is the card that players are going to be fighting over this turn. The card is useful for a couple reasons. One, whoever has the highest total here is going to win the prizes on it. Here it's some salary. First place gets 2, second place gets 3, third place gets 2. But the winner also gets the card. Everyone's going to start with a card that has a symbol on it. And if you ever get 2 cards that have the same symbol, see these both have rabbits in the top corner, you'll be able to turn them face down, and that scores you 1 victory point. Each round, players are going to take turns, starting with whoever has the first player token, and you're either going to place an agent or reveal. When you place an agent, you're going to play a card. Now, all the different cards players have show different areas on the board you can go to. So if I play the signet ring, I can send one of my 2 agents. Everyone starts with 2 agents, although there's a way to buy a third. And I can place them in a green, blue, or yellow space on the board. I can't place them in any of these spaces. If I want to go there, I'd have to play this diplomacy card, which shows those symbols on these spaces. So maybe I would place him here. Sometimes there's a cost. This one here cost me one of the 3 resources in the game, water. There's water, spice, and salary. And then I would do whatever the space says. So some space have costs. Other space might require, this one requires you to be at least 2 influence here on the Fremen track down below. So there's a few things that you'll need. This one needs 2 influence on the Imperial track. This one, like I said, needs that on the Fremen track. And then all the way up here, you need influence on the Spacing Guild track. When you play a card, you get to put the agent out according to the symbols, but you also get anything that's in the gray area here. So this one gives you your ring special ability, but you'll find all sorts of different activities that can happen over the course of the game. So players can take turns doing that. If you have an agent in a spot, then nobody else can go there, except there are special abilities and things that allow you to place spies in this game. You'll notice one of them right here, espionage. This lets you draw a card and place a spy. When a spy is placed in a spot, later on, if someone's in the spot that I want to go to, I can still go there. I remove my spy and I can go to that spot. Alternatively, if a spy is in a spot and I go there, I can remove the spy to also draw a card. Having more cards can be pretty useful in this game. Other than that, there's all kinds of spots here on the board. Many of the spots show swords, which lets you send some of your troops into conflict. Many of the spots will give you more troops. Spots will give you water and spice and Solari. In fact, some of the spots will have spice added to them if nobody goes to them in a round, making them more useful in the future. This spot here lets you break down this shield wall. There's a shield wall. If one person goes there, they can decide to do that and break that wall down. Some spots give you riding hooks, which you'll just put here with your faction, and that means in the future you can go to certain spots and recruit sandworms that can be used in the upcoming conflict. These cubes represent troops, which are definitely not as cool looking as the sandworms. Other spots let you draw cards. Other spots up here, the Swordmaster gives you a third agent that you'll be able to put on the board. In the High Council, you get more of the Persuasion, which is a resource that you use to buy more cards. Up here is a Chome module, which you don't have to play with, but if you do play with, gives you these tiles, and when you take one of these tiles, when you go to that spot in the future, as this says when I go to the Sudakar spot up here, not only do I get what's on that spot, but I also get to draw 2 cards. And these are constantly being replaced, so when you go to certain spots on the board, you'll get them. Or in the case of this one, this says if I harvest at least 4 spice, I will also take 4 Solari. And so these tokens will be up here, and some factions and cards refer to them. Lots of them, whenever you go to these spots over here, you'll move up on the influence track. When you get to the second space, you get a victory point. So moving up the influence track of all these is pretty useful. When you get to the 4th space, if you're the first person to do so, you form an alliance and take an alliance token for that faction, which is also worth another point. Although if someone goes higher than you, they can take that token away from you. You'll lose the point, and they'll gain the point. Players can also reveal. When you reveal, your turn is basically over, but you'll play all the cards that you haven't used, and at this point, you're just going to concentrate on the blue card of the cards that were discarded. Most of the time, this simply says, hey, you're going to get some persuasion to buy more cards. Although there might be swords on this. In that case, you would get the persuasion. This gives me 2 persuasion and 3 swords. There is a track over here. You're going to go up 2 for each cube that you have out here. So this would be 4 cubes. And if I played 3 swords, I get 3. Ooh, and these sandworms are 3 each. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. My military strength is this. At the end of a round, after everyone has revealed their cards, whoever has the highest strength is going to win. All the troops and sandworms are removed from the board. So if you spent troops in battle, you can win or lose. And then there's first, second, and third prize. Now this is from the first conflict, but near the end of the game, the conflicts will have much better and cooler rewards. Some conflicts do not allow sandworms to be used if the shield wall is in play. The shield wall has to be gone for sandworms to be used in that conflict. Also, if you have a sandworm in a conflict, you get double rewards. So if I'm second place and I have a sandworm, I'll get 2 spice and 6 Solari. So I mentioned persuasion. Players will have persuasion that they can spend at the end of the turn. There's always 2 piles of cards you can buy from. You can always buy some Bene Gesserit cards that cost 2. And if you have 2 influence with the Bene Gesserit, they let you draw a card when you play them and get 2 money. Or you can pay 9 to immediately get a victory point. The spice must flow. This is the other major way of getting victory points. These cards do nothing for you. They don't let you place agents or anything, but they're worth a victory point. And then there's a line of 5 cards that you can buy from, and there are so many different kinds of cards. It would take me too long to go through all the different cards that you can buy. There's multiples of some of the cards, but there's also a lot of cards that just have a few things on them. And so you simply will pay this amount. It will go in your discard pile. All the cards that you played to put agents out and cards that you used or showed at the end of your turn, basically your whole hand, plus any cards that you bought, go into your discard pile. You'll draw a new hand of 5 cards. If you ever need to draw cards and your deck runs out, you simply shuffle your discard pile. So the cards you buy, you'll be able to use on future turns. This will continue until one person's token hits 10. That's the final round of the game. And whoever has the most points after that is the winner. If there's a tie, well, spice breaks the ties. I should also mention that there is some rules in here for a solo and a 2-player game. A rival agent. There's also some game variants that you can add to that. There's a whole section here on 6-player games. And in fact, there's a whole extra bag of components that's added for the 6-player games, which is kind of a team against team. So there's a whole section here, and in fact, the other side of the board is set up for that itself. So keep that in mind. So that's also included in the game. All right, so the question that people are going to have is, and this is a reasonable question, and this is going to be the crux of this review. If I have the first one, do I need this one?
Need is a weird word to say. They're different, you know.
Yeah, I almost feel like we should circle back to that question after we discuss
Fair
a
enough.
little bit more.
We'll come back, but that is important to talk about, right?
I absolutely agree.
All right, component-wise, it's the same as the first one, except now you have
Sandworms.
plastic sandworms or wooden sandworms. I don't know why you use the wooden ones. Plastic sandworms, they're awesome looking. The artwork, the art versions of movie people
Yeah, they look really good.
still continues to work better. I forgot when playing this how much I liked the upgrade kit.
Oh yeah, and the upgrade kit works with this too, which is kind of cool.
I don't want to buy another, but yes, I get that.
You could just get rid of the old game and put this one in the upgrade kit. I mean, if you really wanted to.
So I thought about that, right? Well, we discussed all these options,
Right.
And I'm thinking I want to get I want to get another upgrade kit for this, but the upgrade kit doesn't say Uprising on it. They need a sticker anyway.
Or you could do what the designer does and make a super deluxe version, like House Blend is what he calls it, where he has all of the stuff together, takes in some cards from one of the games and puts in some cards from the other game, and it still kind of works with this, you know.
Yeah.
And they have stuff in the rules saying that you can do that sort of thing.
What's everyone's opinion of the original game?
I like it.
It is in my top 10 games of all time. I rate it a 10.
It's in my top 100. It's a 9 for me. I really like it.
Same here.
The basic game I would give an 8.5, and with the expansions, it's gone all the way up to a 9.5 for me.
Yeah,
I think it's in my top 10 as well.
It's about a 9 for me. I enjoy it a lot.
Okay, so we really like the first one. So
Yeah.
let's keep that in mind. So let's talk about some of the things in here. There's one weird thing that this one does. It adds the Choa module
I love it.
that I cannot fathom why anyone would not play with. It's so easy to
for sure.
add. And it, like, if you don't play with it, it makes a couple spaces give you 2 money, which is boring.
Right.
Right.
Then instead it gives you, like, these tokens, and you go to a spot and it's better. I love this module. I would play with it always. And I find it a weird decision that they didn't just make it part of the game.
I think it's because those spaces originally kind of give you a little bit of Solari when you go there. So,
Yeah, but the module also gives you that
Right.
on a lot of the tiles.
It just encourages you to go do a worker placement
Yeah.
spot. You can take a contract and say, this particular spot is extra juicy for me. I'm very excited about it. Maybe it adds a little bit more into the blocking decisions, but mostly it just prioritizes spots for me. And I really like that. I get a little reward for going there.
and it can make people be like, oh, he has that contract. I think he's really trying to go to that space. Do I go there first? And like slow them down on fulfilling their contract. And there's a lot of cards as well that have to do with those contracts. So if you don't play with the Cha module or whatever, you have to take all of those out too.
Yeah, right. So to me, it's
Right.
just easier just to keep it in.
Oh, for sure.
I would just say it's essential. I thought, oh, this might make the game more complex.
No.
It's like the easiest module I've ever used with Dune.
I haven't played the game without it, so
Yeah, I agree.
Then the worms. What do we think about worms?
holy smokes, they are a really big deal in this game overall. As far as like racing to get the worms, trying to get the worms, and the fact that having worms in combat doubles the rewards.
That's huge.
So even
Yeah.
if you get second, it's like I'm still getting a ton of resources for my effort, you know.
A lot of those third places doubled are pretty
really,
juicy.
really good, you know. So
If you have a worm and you have third place, it's a sad worm. That means everyone's
it
using
happens.
You
worms.
misused that
Everybody's
worm.
like, they have a worm in combat. We need to push them down as far as we can because they're going to do too well if they
Now,
get
you've
first.
played this game the most.
I have played this game more than almost any game I have ever reviewed.
So let me ask you, have you ever played a game of this where the shield wall did not come down?
Many games because it's an effort to like get like because normally you go to the location that allows you to either get the hooks or take down the shield wall. So it's like, am I going to go back to the location just to open up the shield wall? Everybody else has worms too. Am I helping myself more or am I helping somebody else more? You're not really 100% sure. There are intrigue cards that are like, boom, kill the shield wall, which those come into play a lot more when somebody's
Right.
like, I'm going to put the shield wall down and throw some worms into combat, and then it's like a surprise attack, which makes a lot of sense for the, not spoilers for the second movie or anything like that. but,
Whatever,
you know.
Dune's been out for 50 years.
It's been out since longer than I have.
Spoil it.
Joey, you've never seen
I have never seen Dune.
Either of the two movies that have come out.
No.
And you still really enjoy the game.
No, I've seen Tremors, but no. And the thing is,
Get out!
no, and that's the thing. Approaching this with no idea about the IP is how much I do like the original game and this one.
I grew up
And
with
Christopher
Dune
Walken.
like crazy. My dad like quoted Dune quotes to me in my crib, I think. So
The spice must flow, child.
my son, the sleeper has awoken.
I think what's neat is I really enjoyed the original Dune Imperium, having never watched the movie or read the books or anything like either of the movies. And I enjoy this game so much, despite not having watched the new movie because it got delayed.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
I think both Dune Imperium board games managed to delay the movies.
Yeah, it was the board game's
That
fault.
happens.
Yeah.
That's true. It happened both times, right?
Did, yeah. Direwolf sitting there and cursing the universe. But it makes me excited for the movie coming. And when I do eventually watch the movie, I bet I'll come back to this and say, Shield Wall makes sense.
Oh,
right
for
now,
sure.
it's a good mechanism.
Oh, you haven't seen the original Dune.
I have not seen
But
any of
Sting
it.
is in it.
I know.
Okay.
Sting, a very unclothed Sting is in it.
Okay.
You're not really making me want to go.
What do y'all think of spies?
Love it. I love the spy mechanic.
There's a lot of mechanics in this that have to do with spies, and the fact that you can kind of guarantee yourself access to a certain space kind of allows you to do that like longer term strategy. It's like, okay, I'm going to put a spy out here on the space, and you can do stuff where you have a bunch more faction access, and there's cards that specifically allow you to go to those spy spaces as well. So being able to line that stuff up correctly is really good. There's a ton of cards that play off of having spies. Oh, you play this card, you get influence on each thing they have spies for. There's a ton of characters that respond to spies, like, hey, if you go to, I have a spy on a spice space, if you go there, I get spice. You know, there's lots and lots of different aspects to spies in this game, and even just taking one off and drawing a card just gets you that much
To me,
closer to
that's
spice must
I
flow.
love that drawing a card.
Yeah,
you pull
that's
it off.
huge, too.
That's a big extra card.
I like how the spies open up the board. If you place them somewhere, you know I can go there if I get these cards, because so many times you want to go somewhere, you don't have the card that allows you to, but your spy will go there. Now, at first I was like, man, eventually this will be a dead area. I won't want to go up this track anymore. Bring the spy back, get
Yep.
that card. That itself, it just it opens the world up, and it doesn't really hold you into the hands that you draw.
I think it mitigates what you're saying here a little bit of the idea that when you combine a deck building game with worker placement, you tend to deck yourself out of certain areas, right? You
Right.
draw a hand of cards, and you're like, can't go to the place I wish to this round. I think that's a brilliant feature of this game. It makes you shift and have to play differently. But I do love those little nuggets of giving you a little bit more flexibility with those spaces. And, putting a spy in the Highliner space
Is
might be a
huge.
good idea.
That's big.
I was going to say, one of the things, too, is the fact that they took out that folded space card in this game, which was the one card you could get that would be like, you have access to anything. So this game, you really have to be careful with which cards you're drafting to not pigeonhole yourself into different areas, making sure you get faction access, because that stuff is huge, because running up those faction tracks is so many points. I have played this game an insane amount of times. It's crazy.
Here's the thing: when this board is definitely a tighter board to get people on. The original board had one spot where you needed to influence with the Fremen. There are now multiple spots like that.
Yes, yeah.
There's spots that cost 3 water. You ain't going to that spot very easily. It feels like a tighter board to get on, and the spies make that easier.
Right.
I also enjoy the fact that the Bene Gesserit one that's like that is actually on the card that would normally be like your silver in Dominion or whatever, but it's on the card where when you play it and go to one of those spaces, if you have the Bene Gesserit like alliance, you get to draw an extra card, which could be huge for Spice Must Flows. So it just makes that card even better, and that card's in every single game.
Yeah, I like the combat in this game. I like the way that it's very much similar to the original, but they changed up, they tweaked a few things, and so now you're looking for pairings. There's fewer straight up victory points printed on combat cards, but now you're looking to try to make combos of things. There's intrigue cards that allow you to, at the end of the game, if you have an unpaired combat card of a type, well, you didn't think I had this point. I have this intrigue card which counts as its pair. Boom,
Points.
extra
Yep.
point at the end. I like all of that stuff. It's very, very exciting.
And that part's interesting too, because it's like, well, me and Joey both have the same pair, and the current combat is that pair. Like that me and Joey are gonna want it,
Right.
And it's like you guys could still want it because it still could be a future point in the future, or maybe you have an intrigue card that matches with that one.
That's a big thing.
It's like
Yep.
you never really know who's fully going after the combat, but these two guys are probably gonna be battling it out over it.
Have you played this with either expansion?
I haven't played it with expansions at all.
I played with the one rule from the newest expansion where you can wipe the cards once per game.
Oh, gotcha.
I like that rule, period. I think that should just be a base Dune rule. But, so the game itself, I own Dune Imperium. Expansions or not expansions, do I get this? Or I don't own Dune Imperium at all. Should I get this one or the original one? I know that Dire Wolf wants us to say, own both.
And the upgrade. And yeah, right.
I'm not convinced on that. I don't think the ordinary player, if Dune Imperium's your favorite gamer, like Roy in your top 10, yeah, own both. But I don't know that for most people you need to own both.
I don't know that I'm going to go back and play the original after playing this one, though.
Here's what
really?
I think I'm just going to play this one.
I own the base original, right? Non-upgraded. So the decision's a bit easier for me, I think. All the expansions do kind of come together. I like this more because the green area we didn't talk about at the top, that's so much more active later in the game. It's not as dead as it is in the original. The spies, the contracts, those three things alone, and the sandworms I enjoy too. But those first three things, that itself makes this game, I like it a lot more. I feel more.
No one's going to admit this publicly, but this is a slight patch. Okay,
it is.
They definitely
could have added.
They used the expansions to kind of patch up the spots that people were going to, and here they're like, yeah, they're not there. Oh, everyone takes the Mendat in their first turn. Well, it's no longer here. Oh, once you take that top 2-point token, no one goes that space. Well, now there's a secondary thing. They definitely are fixed. I'm not saying the first one's broken at all,
right?
But they definitely balanced it.
They made it better in a lot of ways, I think. And for me, I mean, Dune itself, like Dune regular, Dune Imperium, is not like a gateway game. I wouldn't say go get the regular one if you want to play with non-gamers. It's still going to be a gamer's game. And this just is a little bit more complexity and a little bit more stuff going on, but I don't think it's unmanageable. So I think if you can teach people straight off of this, as long as they're like into games.
So you're saying if someone only wants one, they should get this one?
Yes. I think at this point, if you're going to get Dune, I would say skip the first one and go straight to this.
I agree.
What if you own the first one?
If you own the first one and you really, really like Dune, I would say check this one out. I mean, you might want to play it first and see if you like it. But if you get this one and you have the first one, you can do like Direwolf's House Blend thing and add in all the first characters.
Is that online somewhere? Because I would like to do that, actually. I mean, I would like to put all the characters in and use double the decks.
There are rules in there that tell you, like, oh, you can add all the first characters in and stuff.
The back of the rulebook does a good job saying, are you playing with this expansion? Here's the things that do work, and here's the things to take out. If you're playing with the base game, here's the stuff that will port over just fine, and here's the stuff we recommend you don't mix in.
Right.
And so...
See, I'm tempted to make a little Frankenstein game then.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what Paul Denton was playing around with people doing this.
Will that dilute the deck, though? Then spies become less useful because they're not on as many cards.
I wouldn't put too many of the original cards in. I would mostly just put the new characters in and maybe a select few of the original cards in. You know?
And the combat cards will dilute the new combat card pairing for victory points. It's a weird one to mix. Going back to your question, if you own the base Dune Imperium, should you buy this one? I'm going to echo something that I think you guys said when Twilight Imperium 4th edition came out, right? This, to me, feels fairly similar to the difference between Twilight Imperium 3rd and 4th edition. It's kind of a patch. It is nicer. I think it's better in several ways that we've talked about. Do you play this game regularly? Do you play Dune Imperium once a year? Or do you play it every few weeks? Maybe get this one because I think it is better. I think the solo mode is a little bit more dynamic because of the House Hagal deck. It has more things that say, and it gives you specific rival cards to play against rather than putting out the regular play mat, like character mat. So it condenses some of the information there. It's more dynamic. The rival players have more options on the cards. If they're at this influence, do this action. If they're at a higher influence, do this bigger action. So it ramps up that tension a little bit more. The Sword Master, the third worker that the solo players get, comes out at a more of a natural flow. I think it's an improvement in a lot of ways, but how often are you playing Dune Imperium? If not that often, you're still well served from the original game.
Since you're mentioning solo, I also will mention this does come with the ability to play the game at 6 players, which I didn't play a full game of, but I watched some people play one, and then I played in one as one of like the house leaders. It adds interesting aspects to the game. I would have to play a full game of it and try it all the way out to like give a full review of how I feel with it, but I do know it adds a lot more time to the game.
Well, it says there in the back of the box, 60 to 120 minutes or 180 for the 6 players.
It is immense when you do that. It is really long.
I'm not even trying it.
And then maybe we're just not good players. I was playing in a tournament for this game, and with people that know the game very well, and we're just kind of like, I don't know how like one side of this wins. You know, maybe we're just not able to grok our head around. It seems like the Fremen side was just going to landslide the Empire side like every time. So it's an interesting thing. I would need to play it more to check it out. Also, it's 6-player Dune Imperium. I probably will play this game at 4 more often.
I agree.
All right, what do you rate it?
I'm kind of the same as the original Dune, although this made the original Dune back off a bit, I think. So I would give us a 9. I do enjoy this game a lot. I think it adds a lot, like I said, the spies and the contracts, those 2 things alone just make the game move so much quicker. I really, really enjoy it.
I'm giving it a 9 as well. It's an odd product. It's an odd duck because I'm going to rate it pretty much the same thing I rate the original. Even though it has some improvements, it also comes with, unfortunately, the baggage of what do I do with this thing? And so I'm trying to kind of take all of that out. If you're just looking for a really solid game, it's a 9. This is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a 9 for me also. Just when we were playing that, I was like, I forgot how much. Every time I play this, I'm so tickled by playing it because thematically it makes me happy. The theme works, and they also added some of my favorite characters in this one.
Right.
You know, I was like, oh yeah, I can play as Gurney. I'm in.
I love it.
You know, that's fantastic. So I'm excited about that. They have some major characters that they deliberately held back, and that was neat.
Yeah.
I haven't played with the expansion yet, and I'm excited about that. That would probably bring it to a 9.5. But just the mechanisms, the stuff, and this one definitely, it feels better than the first one. It feels like there's more interesting spots. The cards, I'm drawing more cards and playing more cards, which was the biggest criticism against the first one. That you didn't get that it wasn't as much of a deck builder. It's still more about worker placement stuff than deck building, but this brings that in a little bit. So yeah, I enjoy it. Now let's go to Roy's shocking rating.
I said that I rated the last one a 10, and I said I like this one more. So what is this, a 10?
11.
A 10.5. 10.5. Anyway, it's a 10 for me. I love Dune as an IP in general, so that adds extra points to me. I grew up with Dune. I loved like the Dune board games in the past, and this game just brings Dune to life, and I love the fact that they've added sandworms, spies, all the intrigue and stuff like that is in this game. I've played this game more than almost any other game that I've reviewed. I've played it a massive amount of times, and I really, really enjoy it. And I think if you're into Dune, if you really enjoy Dune, you should definitely try this one out.
Do you think this is more thematic than the first Dune Imperium?
I think the first Dune Imperium is the first movie, and this one is the second movie. I don't think one is necessarily more thematic than the other. I think they're right on line with what they are. It's just different times in the book.
Well, the second movie's better than the first movie. No, I haven't seen it because there's sandworms in it. So
Right.
therefore,
There's sandworms in the first movie. It like devours a little thing.
Yeah,
and
they're
You
barely
must
in the first
walk with irregular rhythm to not attract the worms.
you have to. And you have to rap with the regular
He's
rhythm
the
too, I
emperor.
guess.
He doesn't do that. He doesn't even know anything
Oh, he
about the
has to do
worms.
that.
All right.
Anyway, love it.
There you go. Dune Imperium Uprising. Hopefully this was helpful to you all. Again, Roy will do a video showing you the complete differences between the games.
Yes.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Joey Evans.
See you next time.
The spice must flow.